Okay, mic check, mic check. All right, I see the vocals going. You guys should hear me loud and clear this time around. I shouldn't have any problems. If you guys hear me, let me know. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. You guys hear me? All right, I'm good. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so let's first of all, I apologize. I don't know what's going on with my microphone. Normally, I don't have an issue with it, but for some apparent reason today, it decided to act up. Okay, so hopefully it's not too big of an issue, and guys won't kill me for it. It's kind of embarrassing for that to happen twice in a row, but I'm just glad that it's been worked out. So now that I have your guys' attention, let's begin the show. Hey, you're now rocking with your boy KLXKL, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. First and foremost, man, I just want to clear a few things up with the fan base and the guys out there who support Tick Podcasts and like come to the channel. I've gotten amazing feedback from everybody. It's greatly appreciated. Recently, you guys know we've expanded. We've added new content to the channel as well as a new playlist and things like that. What I want people to try to understand, and what I want people to try to get, is that Tick Podcast itself is not becoming a multi-platform show. That's not what we're doing. Super Podshots is not becoming a multi-platform show. That's not what we're doing. I've got a lot of feedback about people concerned about the show. They really love the show because of what we do. And I just want to reassure everyone, that's not what's happening here. Tick Podcast, the Inner Circle Podcast, is the inner circle for Xbox One, and your best place to come for Xbox news, inside info, and of course, getting those interviews with those executives and being that voice for you guys. So, it's really important that we continue that, and that's something that we plan to continue doing. Now, what we have done is add new content to the channel to try to reach a broader audience, as well as provide you guys with something different than just Xbox content. I get a lot of people all the time who had asked me to want to go, try to go multi-platform and things like that. It's not something that I wanted to do. So what we've done is we started to introduce different podcasts. And I was asking fans to let me know if you were interested in having those things on the channel. And I've gotten a lot of mixed feedback, man. It's been kind of overwhelming in a bit because I don't know what to do. A lot of people are telling me, hey, Cal, you've created this brand. It's a part of your brand. Bring those shows to the channel. And I have a lot of fans out there that are diehard Xbox guys and only care about Xbox and don't want me to bring none of that to the channel. So, I have some things to do, some things to think about, to figure out what I want to do and how I want to present it. Do I go ahead and make the Inner Circle Network channel and put the shows on there so they can have their own space? Or do I go ahead and add them here so you guys can have a channel that's consistently on with content Monday through Friday? And I would think that you guys would prefer that, but it can get overwhelming, as shows start to pile up, and I kind of get that as well. So, I'm still trying to figure these things out, but with you guys' support, with your support, I'm sure we'll figure it out. So, again, just leave comments in the comment section, and we'll get there. But just to be clear, no, the Inner Circle is not going multi-platform. Tick Podcast is not going multi-platform. The only thing that's multi-plat is the Writer's Block, which is our multi-platform show you can find on Kid Smooth channel. And then we have Anchorman, which is Multiverse, which is a comic book superhero type show. We have Tick United, which is kind of based on movies and entertainment. And then, of course, you have us, which is really focused around Xbox gaming. So that's what we're trying to bring to the channel, bring something different, bring something for you guys to listen to. If you're not interested in listening to it, don't listen. That's really what it is. The content is there for those to listen. If you only want Xbox stuff, then you know where to find it. So let's move on from that. So guys, Microsoft, Nintendo, and PlayStation, they're changing the generations, man. I said this before, the word generation is like dead. Like, you know how you should be like, yeah, this is the 7th generation, this is the 8th generation. These generations are dead. Like there's no, I don't think there will be any more 9th, 10th, 8th generation. Not in the form that we would normally think about. It's something you would do 4 or 5, maybe 7 years, 8 years down the line, you get a new console. It's not happening. And I don't want to keep talking about this stuff. I don't. Listen, I'm just gonna keep it 100. I don't really want to continue talking about consoles. New iterations of them. To me, it gets boring. It really does. And I know for some of you guys, you're like, come on, Cal, can you talk about something else? I'm gonna keep it real with you. There ain't nothing else to talk about. There really is not. Like, seriously, there's not. There's not a lot of news out there when it comes to Xbox. Microsoft is being very close to the chest with all their information when it comes to what they're trying to present at E3. Other than Quantum Break, you have some indie games coming out. There's some multi-platform games releasing, but as far as Xbox news is concerned, bro, it's tight. It's tight right now. They're not playing. They are doing something, and whatever they're doing is going to be pretty crazy. Excuse me. I was trying to avoid that sneeze, but I couldn't. So, whatever they're trying to do is going to be crazy because of the simple fact that they are going to be presenting something at E3, and I think it's going to be completely different from what everybody else is trying to do. And there's a number of reasons why, and the reason why I want to talk about this stuff is because I got a chance to chat with a few people. First of all, big shout out to Javanis, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Really, really cool guy, good chatting with you, as well as some of the fans out there that support the show. Hesher is a big fan of the show. Really appreciate a lot of love from Hesher. Obviously, a few others off the top of my head. I can't think right now, to be honest with you, but I just want to give a shout out to some of the fans out there that support the show and that constantly talk to me in the chat and constantly give me great feedback and things like that. And of course, you guys in the chat as well. I'll never forget you guys out there, so thank you. But I get a chance to chat with a few people, and something came to my attention. And one of the things that came to my attention was this whole thing about Nintendo now being moved, having their console moved into 2017. But I don't think the console was being moved into 2017. I think that it's just releasing in 2017. That's just the reality of it. That's what's happening. So what I wanted to do was I just wanted to point out a few things, and I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from. Now, I've been playing with this Google Hangouts thing. I'm not used to it. I'm getting used to it. And one of the things, I noticed people had the ability to share, their screen and stuff like that. So I've been messing around with it. So I'm going to share a few of my screens and things like that. And obviously, I'm going to be using content from ticgn.com, of course. Where else would I go? But there's other spots and older news and things like that we get a chance to talk about as well. So first, I want to focus on Nintendo. Okay, normally don't do this, but I got to do this to get to my point. So I got to focus on Nintendo and what Nintendo's trying to do. So obviously, we had the news today that Nintendo is trying to push their console or release their console sometime next year. And with that, they want to drop that, and they want to drop. There you go. They want to drop that, and they want to drop the Zelda at the same time they launch the new Nintendo NX console. So, with that being said, it kind of changes. The dynamic changes. They're not going to be showing it at E3. And the funny thing about it is, if you're not showing it at E3, where and when do you show it? Nintendo is very, what's the word I'm looking for? They are very unpredictable in what they do. They never do anything that's predictable in any way where it's like, man, they are presenting something that looks really, really crazy on this particular day or this particular time. They never do it. It's like how they do with Nintendo Directs. They always have these shows at weird times. So dropping a console in March to me isn't something new, but normally you would drop a console around the holiday season because you have Black Friday, you have all these things that happen where you're really focused around trying to push the console, trying to push games out and get the best deals for those consoles to the consumer. And usually that's why you have consoles drop around the holidays, but they're skipping the holiday. They're not trying to do that. They're coming out in March. This is what they plan to do. So being that they're coming out in March, one of the things that they announced was that they wanted to release, that with Zelda, and Zelda was a big deal for them. They came out, they put the quote up. The next generation Nintendo's coming out March 2017. Ironically, they put hashtag NX, which most people think is just some rumor or some made up name, but no, that's the actual name of the console, or the code name for the console is NX. And then you turn around and they then state that, there will be no NX at E3. They will focus on a new Zelda, which, the Zelda open world game, I think, is just going to be crazily enhanced by the NX. And I think if you're going to get one, that would be the game to get. But it's a launch title, and that's smart. That's finally something that they're doing smart. So I'm really interested to see what the NX is going to do, how it's going to look, how all of this stuff is going to play out. And, I'm hoping that it plays out well for them. But then it makes me think, okay, and this is why it makes me think. AMD came out earlier this year, and they talked about a few things. And one of the things they talked about at the time was how there were 2 SKUs dropping in 2016. There were 2 new consoles coming out, because they know they're the chip manufacturer. They understand what's happening. And I don't think Nintendo said, they're going to push the NX out of 2016 to link up with Zelda. I think that was planned, and I think AMD knew that. I've already said plenty of times before that, Microsoft are coming with something this holiday season. A lot of people didn't believe me. A lot of people don't, think it's going to happen. They think it's going to come out 2018. They think it'll come out next year. And it's a possibility it may come out next year. But based on the people I've spoken with, they've led me to believe otherwise. I believe that it's going to be coming out, or some kind of console is going to be coming out, in 2016. So, so as we go over, as I said before, AMD came out and spoke about how, they were trying to present, new consoles launching later in the year. And, with that happening, you then have to ask yourself, if new consoles are launching later in the year, what are the 2 new consoles now that, I'm trying to get this right. Sorry, I'm like all over the place. Now that you guys know that the Nintendo console has been pushed out of 2016, and you can only think that it's going to be the Xbox. Now, the FCC had came out a while ago. We know this already as well. There were 2 SKUs for Xbox, and one of them was different. Now, one of them could possibly just be a regular old Xbox, but a slim version of it. And that console may be very well the console that comes out later this year. But they may also have a new console that may come out either later this year or next year. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they say a new slim Xbox One comes out this holiday season, and the new Xbox Generation 2 comes out at the end of holiday 2017. If they did that, that would be the smartest thing they could possibly do. That would probably be the smartest thing they could possibly do. And, and in that regard, the reason why I'm saying that would be the smartest thing they could possibly do is because of the simple fact that, one, if you're going to present a console, why would you want to then turn around and present a slim version that's a weaker version of the console you're trying to present? That doesn't make sense. So you want to go ahead and try to present a console that is able to not rival your own console and then cause your own sales to falter. So on GAF, they came out with the news that there is some talk about some type of new generation or second generation Xbox One. And, it's funny because if you read the quote, he's saying the literal translation should be Xbox One second generation. The expected production capacity is 400,000 per week. 1.2 million a month seems too low, he says. But if you're going with upgradable hardware and you're producing 400,000 consoles per week, because this isn't something that they're just now starting. You know, the point of what this whole thing was that they've been started this production in 2014. 2 years ago, they had already begun working on another Xbox. Remember a couple of weeks ago when I talked about them finding a super creator for the Xbox, a new super designer for the Xbox? This is exactly what I'm talking about. And people asked me last time, do I think the generation peaked? I don't have to think the generation peaked. They think the generation peaked. Because if they didn't think the generation peaked, these consoles would not be coming out. I'll tell you that right now, there's nothing Nintendo could have put out that would have been so overwhelmingly powerful that that PlayStation and Xbox, those companies would have to say to themselves, hey, we have to produce new consoles right now in order to compete with Nintendo. They would have never did that. And we all know Nintendo's not that gangster. They're not that kind of company. That's not how Nintendo gets down. So if that's not how they get down and that's not what they do, then you then say to yourself, why produce these consoles? Like, why? What are they doing? And it just goes right back to what I was saying before. Yeah, I believe that the consoles peaked. And because the consoles peaked, I think that they decided to pump out these new consoles that can do what everybody wants it to do. Microsoft is not coming out this gate the same way they came out last time. First of all, the Xbox One is not the console Microsoft wanted in the first place. It's not. It's not the console people wanted. It's not the console they wanted. They wanted something completely different, something that fans were just not ready for. And I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of people, it's not so much the fans, it was just like the people who just heard DRM. It came out when the whole Snowden thing and the camera and just all this nonsense and all this stuff was going down. I just feel like people overreacted, number one, and also that a lot of people who wasn't going to get the console in the first place just didn't get the console regardless, even after they made those changes. So to me, Microsoft probably is now figuring out, you know what? We have the Xbox One out the way that the fans want it. We're going to drop the console that we want to develop to push tech forward. Phil Spencer came out and talked about how he doesn't care for a 1.5. He talked about how if he's going to come with something, he wants to come with something that is a significant difference. That's a significant difference in power. The PS4 is upclocking, but a lot of the parts are the same. If you read the specs, a lot of the CPUs, like it's different. Don't get me wrong. It's like an upgraded version of what they already have, like an improved version of what they already have. But there's a lot of upclocking, and they doubled the ROPS on it. If what has leaked is to be believed, I don't think Xbox is coming out in that same capacity. I think Microsoft is coming out with a completely redesigned console. I think this console will be cloud ready. This cloud will be 100% DX12 ready. The whole API will be focused around DX12. There will be no upgradable things. Obviously they'll improve on the DX12 API, but I just think that the things that they want to do now with the new API and the Windows 10 and the cloud, the Xbox One at the time might have been built for it, but not built for it, if you know what I'm saying. It's almost like they did a workaround. That's how I feel. I feel like they tried to do a workaround. And now they have an opportunity to present the console they want to present with everything that they want to put in it and then sell it the way they want to sell it. And people still have the options to pick up the regular Xbox if they want to, or pick up the new Slim. And I think that's what will happen. I think they'll produce the Slim console at E3. PlayStation will show the Neo. In March, Nintendo will show off the NX. In the holiday season of 2017, Microsoft presents a new Xbox One Generation 2, if that's what they want to call it. Xbox One Gen 2. And I can see that Xbox One Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, and just keep the name Xbox One because it's all still encompassing one console. And that's the crazy thing about it. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal. We don't get a lot of confirmation on things. We still don't have confirmation on things. A lot of this stuff is still rumor. A lot of this stuff is still speculation. But I said this before. Listen, I'm never going to sit up here and give you information that seems like I'm just pulling your leg or I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. That's not me. If I don't know something, I'll tell you straight up, I don't know. I don't know. If I tell you straight up that it's a rumor, it's a rumor. If I tell you straight up it's a fact, it's a fact. And I'm telling you straight up, the person I spoke to is in a very high place. They're in a very high place. And I can't tell you what they said, but the feedback they told me is that, how can I say this? There's something's going to happen at E3. So I'm excited about it, man. I know the team is excited about it. I can't wait to finally get to see what Microsoft is showing up, but I'm glad they're keeping everything to their chest. It's the smartest thing they've done so far this generation. Like, seriously, Microsoft talks so much about so many things. The smartest thing they've done this generation is keep this one secret that they have close to the chest. It hasn't gotten now. Like, Sony specs have already leaked, if this is to believe what they've shown. They've already leaked. Nintendo NX specs have already leaked. We know nothing. We're a month away from E3. We know nothing about an Xbox. Nothing whatsoever. I don't even think Microsoft has ever had anything like that other than maybe like when they first talked about like maybe Recore, because we haven't seen or heard anything of Recore. You know what I'm saying? But usually when it comes to consoles or handhelds or anything, there's always some type of rumor. There's always some type of speculation of what can be produced from somebody who just has to be a snitch and just got to get that news out there because they have nothing better else to do. And then that's how things play out. So I really think that Microsoft has something up their sleeve. It's going to be crazy, man. And I just don't know how, they plan to go about doing all these things. And yes, it is sad that Microsoft has been playing catch up. And I said this before, I think when Sony came out and they said they're dropping the Xbox, they're dropping the PlayStation, excuse me. They're dropping the PlayStation. Microsoft was not expecting that at all. I don't think the Xbox, and listen, we spoke to Aaron Greenberg about this and we asked him. And Aaron Greenberg said, yes, they were prepared. I don't believe that. I don't. And the only thing that I could say was that the Xbox One, it's done a remarkable job of making a comeback because it could have been completely left in the dust. But there's 20 million consoles out there, maybe more right now, because that last report was at the beginning of the year in January. So that maybe more. It could be 21, could be 22. Who knows? But at this point in time, at the time, I just didn't believe it. You look at what the Xbox One did and how it came out and how so many things had to change to get to where it is. The OS had to change. New features had to be added every month. Feedback had to be added. The preview program was built. They kept upgrading they kept changing the API, which is natural. There's nothing different about that. That's natural. But they kept changing the API, and then they start talking about DX12 and they start introducing cloud, about all these ways these things would make the Xbox better, and yet it took 3 years to get here. 3 years to get here. You're finally getting Crackdown. They showed off some DX12 games that look pretty decent, pretty good. Quantum Break is one. Star Wars Battlefront is another. I'm pretty sure that Scalebound will be one. I'm pretty sure that Recore will be one. I'm pretty sure that all their future games will probably be DX12 built and ready. I just think that Microsoft did what they had to do to compete. They could not give up a year to Sony. They just couldn't do it. I think Sony jumped out early, similarly, because their console started out in a similar way, where there was a lot of features that wasn't there in the beginning, and they started to really kind of like change their console as well and upgrade their console as well. I think Sony jumped out to beat Microsoft to the punch. Microsoft got caught with their pants down with the whole GDDR5 thing. They didn't put it in. They put in the whole workaround with ESRAM and the whole DDR3. Sony hopped on GDDR5 when it was real cheap at the last minute. They added four more RAM modules. and upped it from 4 gigs of RAM to 8 gigs of RAM because they heard Microsoft had 8 gigs of RAM, and they pounced and they jumped out of the gate with just a console that works better overall for third-party games. Microsoft's console is no slouch. It's done a remarkable job with what it can do, but I just think both of these manufacturers sat up here and said to themselves, listen, the consoles that they are pumping out are not the consoles that they really wanted to pump out. I think it was a stopgap. And that's how I feel. With these new consoles coming out, and the more you look at what we've been through in the landscape, these consoles are exactly what they wanted them to be. Base consoles. They are base consoles. And now we are starting something completely new that is not generation focused. It is upgrade focused. And you're going to start getting upgrades, every mid-generation or every 3 to 4 years. And the stats are either going to double. The specs are either going to double or triple in price, and what's going to wind up, not in price, excuse me, they're going to double or triple in power, and you're going to start getting the same games for older consoles, but they're just going to look better. They're going to run better. Sony said, they came straight out and said, no game that runs on PS4 can be so different. It cannot be different from what it runs on the Neo. And that the game is supposed to come with 2 modes, regular PS4 mode and Neo mode. And Microsoft's is different because you have the UWP and you're building one game that scales across both. So I think it may be a little bit easier, but they can't sit up there and make a game 60 frames per second for the multiplayer on one game and 60. Like, I guarantee you there will be a Gears of War version for the upgraded console. There will definitely be that, and it will scale and it will run completely different. It will definitely be, 1080p 60 frames per second on the campaign version instead of 1080p 30 frames per second. But the multiplayer still has to be the same across both because you can't give any advantage. So the sad part about these upgradable consoles is that what are you really getting? Yes, you probably get upgraded graphics, you probably get better frames, lock frames, and things like that. But at the same time, you're limited by the older hardware. And the real question is, how do you sell this product to the people? How do you sell this product? That's the question. And how do you sell a product to the people? You have to be able, and I think this is very important for Microsoft. This is like super important for Microsoft. You have to be able to give some type of bonus to where trading in your Xbox One, the value of it is increased to the point that purchasing a newer version of a console is not as expensive. It has to be $200, $250. They can't release the new console at $300. Look, I think the Xbox One will drop down and stay around $299. I think Slim will be $350, and I think this new upgradable console will be $400. That's what I think. And you have to be able to trade in the original base model to upgrade to the new one for at least $200 to $300. It cannot be higher than that. It just can't. I don't see fans who maybe have just bought an Xbox this January to turn around at the end of the year and pick up a new console that's $400 or $500 again. They're not going to do that. Not for nothing new. Not for no new games that's exclusive to that platform. And I don't think Microsoft is going to do that, just like I don't think Sony is going to do that. So I think that is a very tight line and a very tight rope. I'm super excited for new consoles, without question. I really am. I'm not sitting up here trying to lie. I'm really excited for it, but I just don't think that, I just think that a lot of people, some will be upset, some will agree with it, and some will jump. And once these new consoles come out, eventually everybody's going to jump. That's just the reality of it. No one wants to feel that they have an inferior product. No one wants to feel like that. No one wants to feel like they just spent X amount of dollars and they got an inferior product. So people will trade up. That's what they'll do. They'll, maybe not the newer people, but the guys who got it day one, like myself, the guys who had it since 2013, will trade up. We'll trade the Xbox Ones in if they give us $200 for it. If the console is $500, I don't mind spending $300. First of all, to me, I think that'd probably be around the same price at the NX or cheaper if the NX is to believe, to be a more powerful console or than the Xbox or on par with the Xbox. As a brand new console, I think it would be either $299 or $399. I don't think it would go above that because Nintendo's not that type of company. At the same time, I think that Microsoft, and I said this before, I almost said something. I had to catch myself, man, because I almost gave some stuff up. As I said before, as I spoke to my person, I said that, man, I don't care as long as if the console would be $500, I would buy it. Because if I would buy the console regardless, because if it's worth the money, I would pick it up. I like new tech. I think if it's worth it, I would pick it up. But if you allow me to then trade my console in for $200, maybe to a GameStop or a Best Buy, whoever gives me the best deal, if Microsoft can put some incentive behind that, then it is worth $300. That's an even better deal because then, first of all, you got to remember, you don't have to buy new games. All of your games will work on a new console, and all your games will work across a new console. All the games will be backwards compatible and stuff like that. So, I don't think that anybody has anything to worry about when it comes to games. The games will be there. The games will be available. But I think that when the new stuff starts to come out, Forza and Scalebound and things like that, it'll be surprising. And here's what's crazy about the Neo. Remember how we was talking about most games won't be able to run 4K? Tell me why. And one of these things when it came with the Neo was that the games are supposed to run at 1080p 60, but developers have the option to go to 4K. They have the option to go to 4K. How? It's a crazy situation. I'm trying to figure this out my damn self, and this is what I said before. Listen, all people out there that talk, we're not hardware engineers, man. We don't know what Microsoft does to get what they get out of these consoles. We don't know. But they are doing something where they're getting enough power or juice out of the consoles. They hit the marks that most PCs don't. And if these consoles, if the rumor is true that they are giving developers the option to allow games to go to 4K, then I would not be surprised if Microsoft did the same thing. Maybe 4K 30. Maybe not 4K 60. Maybe they could do 4K 30. Because my understanding is that frames per second actually takes a lot more processing power, more than anything else. To try to hit 60 is almost impossible. Overall, it's harder to hit the frames than it is harder to hit the resolution. Put it like that. So, I think that Microsoft really has the opportunity to come out the gate swinging, put themselves in prime position now that so much information is leaked between the two. And I think that Microsoft will be presenting something big at E3. And a lot of people are going to be caught off guard. A lot of people are going to be surprised. And I'm excited for it and stuff like that. And Microsoft got games, man. Don't sleep, dog. Don't sleep. They got games, man. Yeah, they got Forza. Yeah, they got Halo. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they got Gears. But guess what? All those games are multi-million-dollar franchises. Shit, Gears and Halo are is Halo a billion dollar? No, they're multi-million-dollar franchises as well. Am I right? Oh, no. Gears actually made at least $1 billion overall out of the franchises for Gears. Made $1 billion for the Xbox 360. And I'm pretty sure Halo has done over $1 billion already overall as a franchise, as the quality of a franchise. I don't know about Forza, but Forza has sold pretty decent, pretty good. I won't say decent. They've sold really well. Not so much this generation. It's kind of been wishy-washy. But Forza Horizon 2 is absolutely amazing. Best racing game on any platform, in my opinion. And of course, look, Microsoft has some games that they're coming out with. They may not own Sunset Overdrive, they may not own Rise or Dead Rising 3, but they were exclusive on the platform, and they were completely different and are still only on the Xbox One as a console. some of those games are on PC, of course, but still only on the Xbox One as a console. So Microsoft has plenty of exclusives, man. They've done a great job. They have a great indie stable. You look at ReCore at the end of the year, Halo Wars 2 for all the RTS guys. You have Scalebound, my most anticipated, next year. And we're going to see new stuff at E3. And I don't know what's happening with Fable. I said this on the last show. I would love for Fable, the franchise itself, to be completely rebooted. New story, new characters, and things like that. It doesn't even have to have the same art. It could be the same world. You know, you don't want to change it too much, but it needs to be something and stuff like that. So, you know, I think Microsoft is doing extremely well when it comes to selling their games. That's they've had an increase. We said this before. Their console sales have dropped. That's to be expected when you put exclusives on PC. People who plan to get it, they're not getting it. They're going out and they're buying rigs. Some people are happy. Some people are disappointed. That's why you stick with the console. At least with the console, you know, man, for the most part, it's optimized for it, and you kind of get like a very steady, a steady game when it comes to the game. You know, the PC guys, they're not happy with the Windows 10 store. They're not happy with the limitations. Console gamers, we don't have to worry about that. We just get the game pop and go, and that's been great for us so far this generation. So, listen, man, I just, I wanted to focus on this Nintendo talk today. Excuse me. I wanted to focus on this Xbox talk today as a Nintendo talk because I spoke about Nintendo earlier. But I wanted to talk about the Xbox and the console stuff like that because this stuff is starting to get closer and closer and it's starting to become a reality. And normally I try to get off of this subject and move on. But the reality of it is that this is just really what's been buzzing throughout everything. Games are releasing, but all of the hype and all of the talk around, the announcements or the rumors of these new consoles coming out between this year and next year. And it's not even like for one manufacturer. It's all three manufacturers, all three of them, So, E3 should have some surprises. I can't wait. I'm sure Gamescom will be another great year for Microsoft. I thought they had a great year at Gamescom the year before, especially when they showed scale-bound gameplay and things like that. So, at the end of the day, though, Microsoft still has games coming out this year. I want to take a look at some of these screens that we had over on TICGN, showing off some of the stuff from Gears of War. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and pop that up for you guys before I start jumping in and start answering a few questions and things like that. Let's see where we at. 36 minutes. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go. So, still getting used to trying to use Hangouts and stuff like that. So, it's going to take some time, but we'll see. How does it do that? It's kind of annoying, actually. All right. So, over here on TICGN, of course, like I said before, you guys can go head on over to TICGN.com, check out the new website. Yes, it's multi-platform. But yes, man, we put an emphasis on, putting out great quality content and stuff like that. There's no fanboy agendas or anything like that. We are truly a dedicated multi-platform site for the gamer. So, with the Gears content, they had pumped out some really cool screenshots. And a lot of people don't believe the screenshots because they think that they are, bullshots. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that they're not. But you look at some of these screenshots, man, and they are like absolutely stunning. They really are. Like, just look at this. Just like look at this screenshot, bro. It's very impressive, man. When you look at the detail of the stones and the walls as you walk down the alley, I am like super impressed with this in a way. At the same time, you kind of concerned about, whether or not putting these screenshots out will do more damage than good. A lot of games we get this generation have not lived up to what we expect them to look like. and things like that. And the last thing you want is to then compare screens to the actual game. But if this is to be believed, then you would have to genuinely be impressed with what the guys over at the coalition is doing, and be genuinely impressed that they are making the game look absolutely this good. Like, now to me, this looks almost like in game. I don't know. I mean, this right here clearly looks pre-rendered because he's looking up the way he's looking up and things like that. But that's not to say that something pre-rendered can't be, transition from right to game. And when I look at the floors, the reason why I'm looking at it, it almost looked like it's actual gameplay. But this right here it throws me for a loop. So, clearly there's some things that's pre-rendered. I'm hoping, because like if you think about Rise, when Rise would have its pre-rendered cutscene, it would come right out of that, and that game looked damn near the same as a pre-rendered cutscene. I swear to you, it looked so good for what came out during this time. Kind of similar to Quantum Break as well. Quantum Break would have small little pre-rendered cutscenes, and it would come right out of it, and it really did look genuinely like there was no change, no difference, and things like that. So, I've been really impressed with some of these things, man. I just want to show some of these things off. Like, oh my God, look at this. Woo! Man, that is impressive. That is impressive. Now, you think Microsoft is not making sure that this game runs on their next upgradable console to look exactly like these screens? I don't know if the Xbox One is powerful enough to produce this type of quality in-game. This just looks amazing. Definitely pre-rendered. And my understanding is that this is actually a shot that was up-res to 4K. So that's definitely not going to happen. But what if it did happen with the new console? And that's the whole point of me showing some of these things off, because Microsoft may be showing some of these things, but maybe it's a possibility that they do have this new hardware in the works that's supposed to work towards this stuff. So, we'll see, man. There's a lot of things happening with Microsoft and these companies and everything like that. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what else they show this generation. You guys can check out the rest of the screens on TICGN. Really cool things that the guys over at TICGN are doing, and I'm really grateful for having such a great team and stuff. If you haven't seen the site, this is what it looks like and everything like that. Got the reviews, we got everything. Our entertainment section is fantastic. We do a great job with the entertainment section and stuff like that. So definitely check it out, man. We are working on the forums, the Hard Knock forums. We'll get that up and going and stuff like that as well. So, with that being said, man, Microsoft has some things up their sleeve. I don't know exactly what they have. I do know that they are going to be presenting something game-wise. They really have a challenge ahead of them. It's going to be very important that they continue to produce new IPs. Phil Spencer has stated before that they're going to produce new IPs. It's just whether or not it's coming to Xbox One, whether it's exclusive. I understand this Gears of War 4 is exclusive, and I heard that the game plays really well. A lot of people like it because it plays just like Gears. Some people hate it because it plays too much like Gears. You can't please fans. That's just the reality of it. You just can't please them. Either they're going to hate the game because it's too much the same, or they're going to love the game because it's exactly what they remember. There's no pleasing fans. The one thing you can't do is change the game so much the entire fan base doesn't understand what the hell they're doing anymore, or you're adding stuff to it that it just doesn't work. How many fans griped about Halo and the fact that you could sprint? I don't know how many people griped about that. How many people griped about aim down sights? So many people griped about that, and yet it is the best Halo multiplayer that I have ever played. And I've played them all, and I really like Halo's multiplayer. So I'm really, really excited about Gears of War's multiplayer, to be able to see what that what that finally comes out and what it looks like at the end of the year in October. And I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to find out what's happening over at E3 as well. I don't want to get too hyped, as someone said in the chat. I don't want to get too hyped too much because I don't want to be disappointed. That's kind of like, I won't say I was disappointed last year. I thought that they had some really nice games, some really nice surprises, especially with the whole BC announcement and a few other things. I was very impressed with the conference. The year before, though, I really wasn't. I was kind of let down. I thought it was okay. They had to announce so many things before that it just kind of it killed the buzz. But this year, they haven't announced nothing. No new games. They didn't even talk about new consoles. We don't know what they're doing at E3, and I hope to God they don't talk about it. I hope Phil and that team keeps his mouth shut. They keep everything close to the vest, and when they come out at E3, they come out swinging. And I'm looking forward to it, and I hope everybody else is too. So that's it, man. That's it for the show this week. I appreciate everybody coming in. We just had a heavy focus on, the content of what's happening in the industry with Microsoft and its console, and why now is a possibility, an even bigger possibility, that Microsoft will be dropping something this year. And it's going to be crazy. Oh, Mass Effect news. Mass Effect has been pushed back to next year. So we will not be getting a new Mass Effect this year, which is kind of disappointing, unfortunately. But listen, that's it for the show this week. We're going to get to some questions after the show, in the after party. I really appreciate everybody stopping in. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope that you're able to take some of this content and really reflect on what I talked about and what's been presented news-wise, and how the NX has been pushed. There's a possibility Microsoft may be showing something. You have the NeoGAF rumor. You have the FCC with 2 SKUs. Everything is there for you. Everything is there for you. Why people don't believe it, I don't know. The internet is talking to you, man. That's why it's there. It's talking to you. You got to be able to read through the lines. And I'm giving you little tidbits. So trust me, I wouldn't lead you astray. So that's it for the show this week. We'll be back next week. Tomorrow, there's a possibility we should have Tick United. I'm not sure. I have to talk to those guys because they're still working out their times. But definitely check out Tick United if you're into movies. If you're into Netflix, Hulu, the shows like The Flash and Daredevil and, movies, all types of things like that. That's what that show is going to be for. They're going to give you reviews. They're going to give you all that good stuff. And, of course, on Friday, we have not Tech Podcast, but Friday is Anchorman's first show for the Top Shelf. That will be his new show. You guys can check out Anchorman on Friday on the Tech channel for the Top Shelf show. I have no idea what it's about. For some apparent reason, he thinks he's good at podcasting, so I let him podcast, whatever. So hopefully, I'll be there to check out the show. I'll be in the chat harassing him and driving him crazy. But guys, don't miss that show. Super Podshots every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Take Podcast will be around the same time now, live around 9 p.m. I believe the Top Shelf show will be around 9 or 8. Just stay tuned to the Tick Twitter feed. We will announce the time for that. And of course, we have the Multiverse on this show as well on Mondays at 9 p.m. For comic book stuff, and the Writer's Block on Kid Smooth channel. The playlist is below in the not below this, but in the front page of the Tick Podcast channel. It is below in the playlist area where you can check out the newest Writer's Block, especially if you're looking for multi-platform news. So really appreciate everybody. Really appreciate the support. I'm your boy and your host, KLWarSKLL, the last son of Planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. All right, guys. So welcome to the after show. This is where I get a chance to answer a few questions you guys may have. If you want my thoughts and things like that, let me go ahead and save the latest show. And by the way, we are on Google Play. So if you have Android now and you don't have any of the Stitcher apps or the Podbean apps, if you have Google, you can now find the Inner Circle podcast on Google Play and all of our content. It will be uploading to Google Play. I usually try to upload the shows right after or a few days after. Excuse me, I've been behind, so I'm trying to catch up show-wise and get that uploaded correctly for iTunes and now Google Play, as well as all the other locations that people see the show at. So definitely check us out on Google Play. You can go ahead and look it up right now. They just opened up a podcast network, which I'm very happy and I'm glad that we've been accepted to the Google Play area. So Tick Podcast is up on there. You guys can check us out. I am going to just go ahead and quickly save the latest show. You guys can go ahead and start pumping out questions in the chat. And as soon as I get to the chat, I will go ahead and begin to I'll go ahead and begin to answer those questions. So just give me half a second. All right. So now that that's saved and that is out the way, let's begin the after party. All right. So let's see here. All right. I see my cuz was in the chat. Appreciate you stopping in. We'll get a chance to chat. I haven't chatted with you in a minute, but man, good to see you. Love you. Big Bang Kamehameha asks, can you give your boy Big Bang Kamehameha a shout out? No. Thomas White, do you think there will be any big third-party deals this E3, and will publishers stay away from those? Do I think there will be any big third-party deals at E3, or will publishers stay away from those? I think that Microsoft is not going to try to do third-party deals. They've been burned too many times. I just think they've been burned too many times. Tomb Raider was brutal. Tomb Raider was very brutal. Tomb Raider hurt them. Not only did it hurt them overall, it hurt them because the company came out and announced the game was coming multi-platform and the dates when it would be multi-platform. I think a lot of people were going to get that game for Xbox. It was presenting itself and it looked really, really good. If the game comes out for Xbox and it has 9s across the board and no one knows when those games are coming out, then they go out and they pick up the game, or they pick up an Xbox for the game. But because everybody knew this stuff was coming out early, it really hurt them. I swear to you, it really damaged them. It's unfortunate because it was such a great game. The thing got 9s across the board. It was one of the highest rated games. And it's still published by Microsoft, so it still goes in Microsoft's bank, every new Tomb Raider that's sold. The ones that come out for PlayStation and the ones that come out for PC are published under Square. So, Square gets that bread and everything like that. And a lot of people no, Square would get the money for the Microsoft one too. Yes, but not what you think, because you have to remember, Microsoft funded the game. Microsoft paid for the marketing. Microsoft 100%, not 100%, but Microsoft mainly helped publish the game. I won't say 100% because Square did already work on the game prior to that. So a good chunk of that goes back to Microsoft, and a good sum of that goes back to Square as well. And then also they make their money off of the other games that are coming out for PC, which I think PC did really, really well. And then of course, when PlayStation at the end of the year, when it gets out for PlayStation, they'll support that as well. So I don't know if Microsoft does third-party deals again. You look at Rise and the whole fiasco where Microsoft, I think, were trying to purchase Rise, and Crytek didn't want to give it up. They weren't trying to give it up. And this was when Crytek was like damn near going bankrupt. They were just holding on to their franchises and stuff like that. Now you look at Homefront, which is something I think they had to give up. I think they had to give up, and the game looks horrendous. Homefront 2, that demo that I played, or that beta that I played, was horrible. It was terrible. It was one of the worst betas I've ever played, and I normally don't talk bad about games. I really don't. Even if it's a game I don't like, out of respect for the developer and then the publisher, I usually don't talk too bad about games. That game was bad. I swear to you, I felt like I was playing Clay Fighters. Like, I'm not even joking. If anybody remembers Clay Fighters from the Super Nintendo days, that's what I felt like. I felt like they were attempting something, but it was just blocky, it was clunky, and the graphics looked like clay. That's how I felt. So that's not something that I would pick up, and I don't see how they could impress me again. Not to say they couldn't overhaul the game, but in such a short time, I don't see how they could impress me again. Let's see here. Sith Lord Mike Rich asks, what are the odds from Software to release an exclusive Xbox Bloodborne type game? If I was Microsoft, I would have already reached out to them. I can guarantee you, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Ken Lobb. I don't know what it is with Ken Lobb and Japanese people. He has the gift of gab when it comes to speaking with the Japanese, and he knows how to get something. So if I was Microsoft, first of all, the first thing I would do is I would reach out to Sega. I would buy the Otage franchise because people remember it. You come back as a demon samurai of some sort, and you fight the spawns of hell, it is the perfect game to purchase from Sega. The franchise is dormant. They haven't been working on it. You could probably get the IP for dirt cheap and go ahead and have the guys over at FromSoft create a new and rebooted Otage and make that exclusive to the Xbox One. To me, that is the best thing they could do. That's probably the best idea I think that they could do instead of making another Dark Souls clone. Seriously. That is something that they should definitely do. Let's see here. Courtney Spence says, with consoles all being x86 and so close to one another, all that's going to be different is the first-party exclusives. I like Forza and Gears and Halo, but do you think they can keep up with Sony and Nintendo? I'll be honest with you, what has Sony produced? Like, seriously, just think about it. What has Sony produced first-party wise that has outpaced both Xbox and Nintendo this generation? I'm not talking about all these little Japanese RPG games that they get. I'm not talking about all these indies that they get. First-party studio-wise, what have they produced that has outpaced the Xbox? I'm trying to think myself. They've had, and listen, they've had some really cool, and I mean no disrespect to PlayStation whatsoever. They did a better job with the PlayStation 3 when it comes to first party than they've done with the PS4. Nintendo is the only company that is producing anything first party that you would have to then say, can Sony and Xbox keep up? But when you look at their lineup for Nintendo consists of their mascots. They're not pumping out new IP. The first new IP they pump out was Splatoon, and Splatoon has taken off like a rocket because fans yearn for something new. But look, Star Fox just dropped. You know what we reviewed it as? 6.6 out of 10. It didn't do well. Donkey Kong came out. A whole bunch of Marios are going to come out. You know, what they got Mario Maker now. They got Kirby. Dude, they got a billion mascots they can make, but they're not pumping out new IPs like that. They're not producing it. So when it comes to like the games, you know, look, what's coming out? Uncharted, it's another franchise that they're dropping. You have Gran Turismo is eventually something that they spoke about. There's two third-party games on there that people are hyped about, and Final Fantasy VII's reboot and Shenmue, which I've already said this before because I know that both those games will be coming to Xbox One and things like that. No, they haven't been announced by either company, but I was at E3 and there's people that I spoke to, and I already know. So, you know, that's the situation, man. I'm not saying that Sony won't have something. I'm not saying that they won't produce anything. All I'm saying is that Microsoft has been doing just as good a job as Sony has when it comes to producing new IPs, publishing new IPs. It may not be directly first party, but most of the IPs that they've been pumping out, they own or they have exclusive rights to. As a console, they still have exclusive rights to Dead Rising 3 that has not hit the PlayStation. Rise that has not hit the PlayStation. Think about all the small indie games that came out that were exclusive and only on the Xbox platform. Think about the ones that will be coming out that are exclusive and only on the Xbox platform. I myself actually brought an idea Xbox game to the Xbox that is going to be exclusive on the platform as a console exclusive. So, yeah, look, there's Microsoft definitely could do more. That's without question. They could do more. They can spread their games out a lot further. They could definitely make sure that the game pacing, you know, but the gaps in between, and stop using betas as stop gaps to fill out the rest of the year. But, you know, Microsoft likes to put all their games at the end of the year. You know, they like to do August, September, October, November. That's what they like to do. And they like to drop games in March and April. So, you know, you still got Cuphead coming out, which is an indie, that's a smaller. You had Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition. You had Quantum Break. People were playing Halo 4 Firefight. You got the Gears beta. You know, May is coming around the corner. We got some more indie games coming out soon. And then you talk about June, which is E3, where there'll be a bunch of announcements. I wouldn't be surprised if they said Crackdown multiplayer is playable today. I wouldn't be surprised if it did that. To hold you down until Sea of Thieves comes out probably in August, which is around the same time Rare Replay came out, or September with Forza. So, Microsoft, they have games. They're pumping out IPs. You still got Record. You still got Scalebound. There's new games and IPs to announce at E3. We just have to see what they do. Phantom Dust is still something I think that they've been working on. I don't think that's a dead franchise. And I think that they still have a few games in their back pocket and a few games that they want to reboot that we could see coming back very soon, very soon. So, my biggest thing for them mainly is that they continue to build first-party studios and maybe create a studio in Japan to somehow increase their output of that genre. They need that genre, no matter what people think. And this is the problem that I think Xbox has, is why I keep saying, even if people don't buy the game, you have to produce the game. You have to, because if you don't have a particular game and you're only known for a particular thing, you'll be stuck with that stigma. You'll be stuck with that stigma. So you can't be stuck with that stigma. So in order for you not to be stuck with that stigma, you have to produce these games if people aren't buying them, because then you can always say Microsoft still has diversity. If you wanted to buy an Xbox, you can buy an Xbox and still get this RPG. You can get this single player campaign. You can get this MMO. You can get this racing game. You got to have that diversity. If you eliminate an entire genre because you don't want to reach out to developers, or the developers don't want to work with you, or you don't want to make a studio dedicated to making it, then guess what? Everybody who don't play those other games and play this particular genre won't pick your console up. And if they don't pick your console up, you just lost a sale. So it's important. It's not about those sales. You just need to be able to work with people and make sure you bring every single genre you possibly can to the platform. And that's really what it's about. Let's see. DX12 exclusive. Whoa, that just made me jump to the base. Give me 1 second. DX12 exclusive asks, I just got in, but what do you think this new Xbox is about? Any power boost? I would think so. I'll tell you this much. Microsoft is not going to come out and give you the same box that's been taking L's from Digital Foundry this whole generation. That's not going to happen. You won't get that. So I think Microsoft, and like Phil said, if he's going to come out with a second Xbox or an upgradable Xbox, it's going to be significantly different. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be something that's going to be significantly different and worth the purchase. And I think that's what's going to happen. As I said before, I'm telling you, when I spoke to my source, and I had no problems with the PlayStation whatsoever, but I'm an Xbox guy, okay? And I know a lot of people's like, you like JRPGs, why are you an Xbox guy? I don't get it. There's no JRPGs on the Xbox One. There's two reasons why. One, because I didn't like PS3 when it first got announced, and I didn't like what they had. And at the time, the Xbox 360 had a ton of JRPGs they were dropping. It was just what happened. They had a lot of JRPGs, and a lot of games were coming to the platform, and I loved that. So this generation, I stuck with the Xbox because I like what they did with the 360. I mean, 80 million people like what they did with the 360. And, I was impressed with the 360. I wasn't impressed with the PS3. And when those consoles came out, I stuck with the 360 because I stuck with the Xbox because, I like what they had there and I like what they were presenting. Unfortunately, they didn't produce the JRPGs this generation, but in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, they do everything else better in the other genres. They have the better first-person shooter. To me, they have the better racer. I like Gran Turismo, don't get me wrong, but I just think Forza is just a better racer. I'm just keeping it 100. To me, I like Gears of War, Quantum Break. Gears of War, first of all, there's no game like Gears of War on PlayStation. Just get that out the way. PlayStation has Uncharted, which is an adventure game, and there's no game like that on the Xbox at all. I think they'll try to make Record that new adventure game in some type of way where you get to explore and things like that, because that's really what they're trying to go for. If you think about Metroid, if you think about Zelda, what's inspired them to create Record, that's exactly what it is. It's like Tomb Raider. It's like Uncharted. You're exploring. You come across enemies. The only difference is it sounds like you get new items that help you discover and explore the world and fight enemies and bosses, which is very interesting in itself. So I can't wait to see what that's about. But when it comes to horror games, most of the horror games are split between each other. They do have Bloodborne, but I'm not a Bloodborne guy. You guys know I don't play horror games, and even though that's not a horror game, it's kind of like a Dark Souls game. I don't even play Dark Souls, so damn well I ain't gonna play no Bloodborne. I don't like Infamous. I thought Infamous was repetitive as hell. But you know what I liked? You know what I'm kind of into? I love the way Horizon looks. Horizon Zero Dawn. I like Star Ocean. I'm into Persona, and those games are coming. So that's why I'm on the fence of getting the PS4 Neo. That's what I'm looking at. But so with Nintendo, they also have Xenogears. That is something that I'm into as well. And I'm a bigger Nintendo fan than I am a PlayStation fan, even though PS2 is one of my favorite consoles of all time. But I'm off subject. But that's the reason why I'm with the Xbox, because though as much as I love JRPGs, I can't just play JRPGs for the entire generation. So I have to go with the console, to me, that fulfills my needs more in other genres. And it's unfortunate that I'm not able to play those JRPGs, but I'll eventually pick up one of those consoles to feed that habit. So yeah, I think Microsoft will present a console that has a power boost. And I don't know if it will come out this year or next year. And I don't know if they'll present it this year. Based on my sources, I think they will. I believe they will. That's what I'm led to believe. And with everything we've been seeing in the news and with the FCC, I think that's what will happen. So yeah, I think so. DX12 asks, also, do you think Rare will announce another game at E3, not just Sea of Thieves? I do. I surprisingly do think they will announce something. We've been seeing Conquer so much. I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually a new Conquer. With so many people pissed off at Conquer and the whole HoloLens fiasco, I wouldn't be surprised if they do produce a new Conquer title or release a new Banjo title. Something different. So we'll see what happens with Rare, man. But definitely Sea of Thieves. They'll show Sea of Thieves, and I wouldn't be surprised if they showed a new game for maybe next year. Sith Lord Mike Rich asks, what are the odds Microsoft starts a reboot of a Fable-only studio called Albion? Here's the thing. I don't think Microsoft restarts a new studio. Be honest with you, I don't think Microsoft starts to create new studios. They probably have studios that they haven't spoken about already that they'll probably announce at E3. I don't think they start a new studio from the Lionhead studio. To me, that's stupid and redundant. What you could have done was downsize that studio. You didn't have to kill it. You didn't have to get rid of the name. That studio is done. They're not making a new studio. What they will do is outsource the Fable franchise to another studio, whether it's Rare, whether it's a company within their first party, or they outsource it to a third party and have them reboot the franchise. I think that's what they do. And I think outsourcing is cheaper to do than to hire an entire new staff or keep the staff that you just eliminated on and pay them resources for new desks, new computers, a new room, and all that stuff. These companies are getting cheap, man. If you look at it, other than Nintendo, Microsoft and Sony have been outsourcing their games. They've been relying heavily on third party to produce first party titles, and heavily on second party to produce first party titles, and heavily relying on exclusive deals with indie games and third parties. So yeah, that's how the generation has gone. It's completely different from last generation. I know people want to look at the history of what PlayStation did and look at the history of what 360 did, but these two generations are completely different. They just really are. And when you look at the games coming to the PlayStation platform, it's a lot of Japanese-centric and indie titles. It's the truth. It really is. It's a lot of indie games. Yes, they have a ton of games, but overall, you got to look at what's hitting that platform and why it's looking the way it's looking. Let's see where we at right now. So, all right. Let's see here. Gojira Godzilla asks, do I think the new Xbox is going to have any major differences in comparison to the Xbox One? Yeah, man, I think it'll be a big difference, not in a way where when development is concerned, it'll be that different. It won't be. I think the operating systems will be the same. It has to be the same. It has to be familiar. I think the only difference is that they will look at Xbox One games as backwards compatible games. All the games that you had on the Xbox One will be playable on the newer version of the Xbox, as well as the Xbox 360. And I won't be surprised if they announce original Xbox backwards compatible this summer. Keep in mind, when we had Xbox Quick on the show, who is also Mikey Barrera, who was the director of programming for the Xbox. He stated that they still had 3 big announcements as big as backwards compatibility coming out this year, and they haven't announced none of them yet. So we got 3 big announcements coming. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them was OG Xbox, especially with that anniversary update. Think about it. The anniversary update, would not be surprised if it was OG Xbox. So having all 3 of those, being able to have access to all 3 libraries, being able to play some of the old school stuff would be really, really cool. Maybe implementing live across some of those games would be really, really dope. Like, I'm a big Fusion Frenzy fan. I really hope that they bring that back, and I hope they turn live on, because I would love to play that game. They really need to reboot that franchise. They really do. That is something that they definitely need to reboot. Thomas White asks, have you had any time with DC Universe running on Xbox One yet? No, I have not. I have not had any time with DC Universe. I want to play the game. As you can tell, I'm a big DC guy. I'm a big Superman fan. So I definitely want to play DC Universe. But no, I haven't had any time with it yet. I hope it runs well, and I hope it looks good. Sith Lord Mike Rich asks, what are the odds Microsoft to make an exclusive RPG if not Fable? That, I think, that's something they should do. I don't know what the odds are for it, but I think they should. I would, if I was them, I would probably reach out to the CD Projekt Red guys and pay them whatever they wanted to make an exclusive Western RPG for me. Seriously. If I was, and matter of fact, if I was Microsoft, I would be paying them right now to get the exclusive marketing rights to Cyberpunk 2077. Like, seriously. I would be all over that game. If Phil is smart, or whoever's in charge of Microsoft Studios is smart, I would be all over that game. And that is something that they need to do. Microsoft needs, if Sony is focusing heavy on Japanese RPGs, Microsoft needs to focus heavy on Western RPGs, because the fans buy those games. They love Fallout, they love Skyrim, they love Fable, and they love Witcher. I mean, if Microsoft can't see that, they love Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire. Dude, like, look at the track record of RPGs that hit Xbox One. Those Western RPGs are big, just as big as how the fans who love JRPGs on PlayStation, it's just as big on the Xbox. Mass Effect, they need to focus on games just like that and bring those games to the Xbox One exclusively on the Xbox One only. If they can do that, then Microsoft has something special, and they would have an abundance of Western RPGs that would satisfy so many people, and you wouldn't be able to get on any other platform but the Xbox One. To me, that is the smartest thing they can do, and get the hell away from guns. You have 2 of the biggest gun franchises out there. You don't need another gun franchise. You don't. You really, really don't. Let's see here. Sith Lord Mike Rich asks, do you think Nintendo should go third party? They definitely are going to go third party. Nintendo, I'll tell you right now, Nintendo had a console on par with both PlayStation and Xbox, and they had all the third party games plus their first party. Nintendo probably be the number 1 console on the market. I know a lot of fans are saying to me right now, nah, it wouldn't happen. I'm telling you, Nintendo's first party has been the most stable first party of any company, and all their games get highly rated. We just hate the way we have to play their games. I'm telling you, if Nintendo figures out how to get back to their roots with a controller and innovate in the way they present games, and their games usually work, they're not really buggy. Nintendo's just always going, Nintendo's extra. Like, they always going above and beyond to do something different. whether it's the mini disc, the controller, the screen, the wand. It's like, dude, give us the games we want, make mature games, and give us a controller, and just get third party back on your side, man, and we will follow in droves. So many of us grew up with Nintendo. So many of us still have a place in our heart for Nintendo. But Nintendo does not want to grow up. They have to grow up, and I'm hoping that the NX does that. Gojira Godzilla asks, do you think the future NX console for Nintendo will have a war with the new Xbox, like how Xbox One and PlayStation 4 had this huge debate on which console was better? Nah, Nintendo fans surprisingly are like very docile. You know, the last 2-3 generations, they've been kind of like emasculated in a way. You know, they're not very aggressive. They're not trying to fight anybody. They're not trying to get into any debate because, you know, between Xbox and PlayStation that have been the dominant consoles. And you know, the Wii U was a dominant console, but it had a ton of shovelware, and their attachment rate was terrible. PlayStation and Xbox dominated it with an attachment rate, which is really important. A lot of people don't realize that, you know, game sales matter so much. How many games are sold with your console per customer is super important. If you're selling 3 games per customer to your console, that's major. And you know, the Wii U just wasn't. It really wasn't up to stuff. So a lot of people from the Nintendo side, of the Nintendo fans only, they don't really get in debates and arguments with Xbox and the PlayStation guys like some of the other fanboys do. I wouldn't be surprised if they jumped out of the woodworks though once it started to happen, but it just would be so little of them to start. I don't think it would happen the way PlayStation and Xbox is. Those fan bases are like all the time. So it's unfortunate that they're like that, but that's just the truth. Let's see. Oh man, I think I jumped too far down. Sorry guys, just give me 1 second. I missed a few questions. I want to try to get everybody's questions. Exactly, Thomas. RPGs are important, man. You can't be shoot a box. Let's see here. Hesher, my man Hesher's up in here. He says, I can see Scalebound getting delayed and moved to the new Xbox. Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised of it at all. Indie box. Gunstar Hero asks, new Xbox should come with Elite controller in box. They said that the new Xbox has some type of different controller. That was something that was stated recently. With this new Xbox, there's some type of new design controller. I don't know if it's a color. I don't know what it is, but it's some type of new design controller. And I wouldn't be surprised if they started pumping like Elites out. How crazy would that be? I mean, clearly you would increase the price to $500, but could you imagine this new upgraded Xbox console and each one of them came with an Elite controller? Oh my God. What? That would be absolutely insane, man. It would be insane. So, yeah, no, it would be crazy if they did that. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but I think that would add to the cost. But they got something different in this new box, so we'll see what happens. Let's see. Yes, Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey does need some back compat. I don't know what is taking so long for that, but hopefully they will do that. Enchanted Arms on 360. I don't Enchanted Arms. I feel like I know the game, but I think I missed that particular one, Enchanted Arms. I think that one did not review well when it got released, and I didn't pick it up. But I picked up a ton. Tales of Vesperia, Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, Infinite Discovery. I don't know. I had Final Fantasy 13. There's a few niche ones I can't think off the top of my head, but dude, Xbox had some RPGs, man. They had the 2 games Xbox 360 had was a ton of RPGs and a ton of those like, oh man, what's the name of that game where like you fight entire armies? I forgot what type of games they're called. It's like it's Dynasty Warriors. It's like Dynasty Warrior type games and stuff like that. I don't like those games. I don't. Like I want to pick up. I heard that Attack on Titan is coming to Xbox, and I want to pick that up. I don't know what it plays like, but I'm a big Attack on Titan fan, so I'm really excited for that. I didn't pick up Arslan, which came out as well, which was similar to Dynasty Warriors. I was very supportive that it came because it didn't have to come, but I was very supportive that it did, and glad that the studio was able to bring those games over because I thought it was really important that Microsoft continue to get Japanese support. So I'm glad that they brought it over. But I would love to see, Tekken 7 and Tekken Tag and all the Japanese fighting games and all of the RPGs and stuff like that to hit Xbox. I think that the Japanese don't give the Xbox community enough credit. I know we don't buy all the games that come out, and I know that there's a lot of guys who don't buy JRPGs, but there's still a fan base out there that does. And for people who say, well, if you really wanted JRPGs, why didn't you bought the wrong system? That's not the point. That's not the point. You have 20 million people on the Xbox platform. People love Xbox for particular games. That doesn't mean you should neglect them because it doesn't sell well in Japan. To me, that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? I just feel that way. It's kind of wrong. And yes, I am buying a PlayStation or an NX, one or the other, to fulfill my JRPG needs as well as my platforming needs and stuff like that until Microsoft comes out with whatever they're doing with Rare. But at the end of the day, man, I just think that people shouldn't try to come up with the excuse of why somebody shouldn't get an Xbox because of this. No, the Xbox should have these games just like everybody else. And I can't stress enough to Phil Spencer and that team to make a better effort at bringing those games over. Because regardless if the fan base is niche, that doesn't matter. The people who play Halo and the people who play Gears or the people who play Quantum Break or the people who play Fallout and Skyrim and all these other games may be interested in those third-party titles. The people who play Final Fantasy 13, the people who play Kingdom Hearts when they come out may be interested in those titles, but you just can't neglect them because of fear. If Microsoft has to pay for some of those games to come over, they should. Even if it's a small amount, they should. And I think neglecting that fan base is a detriment to the console and not a plus. And to the fans out there that say we don't need those, stop being ignorant. I think that's an ignorant statement. You handicap yourself when you neglect an entire genre of games. It doesn't matter if you don't like them. As a console and as a console manufacturer, Microsoft needs to make a better effort to bring every single genre it possibly can to its platform. And that is the truth. Let's see here. Let's see. I don't know about a Battletoads RPG. I think they should stick to that formula of being a beat 'em up. Gunstar Heroes. New studio Lion Tales. That is the worst name. That is the worst name ever. Yes, scratch that. That's dumb. Don't Lion Tales. That's a terrible name. I don't know why I'm laughing at that so hard. That's funny. It's Lion Tales. That's terrible. What is that? Okay. Oh my God. Yes, Hesher, achievements for OG Xbox games would be bomb. I think they should definitely do that, man. There's a lot of Xbox games that I didn't play because I was so into the PS2, but I played a lot of the Western RPGs and some of the shooters on there. So yeah, there's a ton of games I miss on Xbox, man. I'm just gonna keep it 100. There's a ton of games I miss on OG Xbox. I was not an OG Xbox fan, but I remember playing Soldier of Fortune for the first time across Ethernet, bruh. That was it. That was it. That was the game. I was like, dude, you can play online like this and it works. Man, I still had dial-up back in the day, but I had specifically went out and got internet just to play Xbox Online, that and to play Final Fantasy 11 on PC. When I thought I was, that's when I discovered, no, I'm not a PC gamer. I was doing keyboard and mouse and stuff. That was no. Now, Final Fantasy 11 was a disaster for me on PC. I played that thing for about a month and quit. And ever since then, I've been a console guy ever since. Let's see here. Big Bang says, imagine having 6 or more free games a month. That would be tough, man, but it would be dope having OG Xbox 360 in indie games and Xbox One games free every month, 6 games. That would be super intelligent and super smart. But you talking about some old licenses. That's some old licenses to find. You think Microsoft already struggling now with backwards compatibility, trying to get their licenses out. Imagine trying to do OG Xbox. It would have to be all their games. Only their first party titles would be that way. And they did have a lot of first party titles on the OG Xbox. Big Bang Kamehameha asks, do you think OG Xbox games will be free first party? It's possible. I mean, Microsoft will do whatever they want. It's their studio, so I mean, they have the capabilities to do it. Whether they do it or not is up to them. I really don't know. Gojira Godzilla asks, have you played Naruto Ninja Storm 4? Not only the demo. I didn't pick up the game just yet. I'm probably going to wait for bargain bin. I love the anime, man. I really do, but those games to me are too repetitive with its button clicks. I know some people are really good at it. I just can't. It reminds me too much of Dragon Ball Z, except Dragon Ball Z is all over the place, and I've kind of grown out of the whole Dragon Ball Xenoverse thing. I know some people out there that really love the game, but it's just not. It's not for me. But I did like the demo, but I just didn't pick it up. I didn't think it was worth the $60 at that current time. And I just answered D21 exclusive. I called him DX12 earlier. I meant to say D21 exclusives. Answered, did you buy Dragon Ball Xenoverse? I did not. I did not buy it at all. And I kind of regret it because I heard that it was a completely different take. You know, the thing I hate about anime games or anime fighters is that they rehash the story every time. Like it's the same story every time because you're basing it on the anime. Not much is going to change. So I stopped buying them because I got tired of playing the same story and seeing the same characters, and it just really wasn't interesting. But Xenoverse changed the whole dynamic of that. So it might be something I'll look into later down the line. Hopefully it hits the Xbox Gold sales thing and I can pick it up for $10. Let's see here. Okay, so man, listen, that's it for our show, man. I really appreciate everybody coming out. I'm really grateful for everybody stopping in the chat this week. Thomas White says Kotar and Jade Empire. Damn, that would be awesome. I think it would be awesome too, man. I swear to you, I swear Microsoft, I don't care what Microsoft has to do to pay EA or pay BioWare to get a new nice little Old Republic on the Xbox One or the new Xbox One Generation 2, whatever the hell you want to call it. They need to get that done. Could you imagine, imagine EA comes on the stage at a Microsoft conference and announces KOTOR 3 for the Xbox Generation 2 exclusive? That would probably piss everybody and their moms, grandmoms, brothers, uncles, and sisters off, but I would lose it. I would lose it. I mean, sure, you can break it for the Xbox as well. I mean, of course, but I'm just saying I would lose it. So I think it's really important, man, that Microsoft, you don't have to do third-party deals all the time, but to neglect them 100%, you can't. There's certain IPs out there, I think, that just belong with the franchise. Mass Effect, to me, is, in my mind, an Xbox title. Just like you have PlayStation fans that feel like Tomb Raider was an Xbox title or Tekken started on PlayStation. It should be a PlayStation title. Mass Effect to me is an Xbox title. Dead Rising is an Xbox title. What's that game with the giant monsters in the frozen planet? It's called comes from Capcom. I hate that game though. Planet something. Oh, I don't remember the name of the game. The game was so terrible. You know what I hate? I hate games that give you a grappling hook, but you can't jump. Stupid game. One of the stupidest games. I don't know why people do that. You know what I'm saying? Like you're as a character, you're incapable of jumping. Dumbest thing ever. You know what else kills me about certain games? Resident Evil for years killed me. You have to stop to reload. You're incapable of walking and reloading at the same time. Stupid mechanics in games drive me crazy. Thank you, Lost Planet. Those things drive me crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yes, Lost Planet was the game, man. It was the game. So yeah, man, that's it for the show. I'll be back next week, Wednesday at 9 p.m. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. If I do come out with a show earlier in the day, I will try to put out a flyer earlier in the week so you guys can catch the show at an early time. If I do, it'll be around 6 or 7 to try to get you guys on here early and not be on so late. So I want to thank everybody for all the support. Hey, definitely jump on ticgn.com and sign up. The forums are actually up right now. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tweet out screenshots on the Twitter channel. You guys can check that out and put up your screenshots of your games, whether it's Xbox, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's Nintendo, whatever. Let's get some screenshots on there. Let's get some conversations going, and I appreciate all the support. So I'll be back next week, man, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Tomorrow we may have Tick United. I'll announce that on the Tick Twitter feed, as well as Friday, Anchorman's new show comes out called Top Shelf. Really appreciate everybody. Love you guys. Love the fans. Love the support. Xbox for life. I'm your host, KORXKLL, the last son of planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace.